Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Spotlight series. In today's episode, we're spotlighting Debby Thornley. Debby is the global process lead at Finlays, a B2B tea and coffee supplier based in the UK. I've chosen to spotlight Debby for two reasons. One is personal. I've known Debby since I was 15 years old. We went to the same college together in Brighton, such fun times. And I really love her as a human being. She has a lot of joy and a lot of love and a lot of wit and fun into, not only her life, but also every person that she encounters. And I really love those attributes about her. The second happens to be her professional acumen. She not only has a first-class degree in chemical engineering from Ashton University, but she also has an executive MBA to boot. And she's worked for a few companies that I'm sure everybody's aware of: Cadbury, PepsiCo, and now Finlays. And I think she's been able to really establish herself as a leader in all these companies that I've sort of walked through. Because not only does she bring her authentic self to each role that she has, but I also think that she's able to really utilize her personal attributes and make it work for her professionally. And you're going to learn a little bit about some of the strategies that she's utilized in her professional career shortly. So I've already shot the first episode with her, and some parts are incredibly sort of fun and creative, in the sense that the first section is the jury edit. And essentially what that consists of is I got Debby to style herself as she would if she was going to work, or if she was grabbing dinner with her partner, her husband, actually. And then I presented her with curated AJOSEPO jewelry. Now, the fun part of this is that I didn't know what Debby was going to end up wearing, and she didn't know what jewelry pieces I was going to present her with. And whether those two concepts married together remains to be seen. So, just bear with us, watch the episode, you'll find out. The second section is a list of questions that I was able to pull from a deck of cards that a friend of mine actually gifted me from Copenhagen. And these questions, I think that it's called Apatin. It's supposed to really get you to engage in deep and insightful conversations. And this is where the strategies bit comes into play, in the sense that you get to know Debby a lot more, but you actually get to learn a lot of strategies that she utilizes at work. So I think this is a really crucial bit. So definitely stick around for it. And the last and certainly not least is that Debby actually gets to showcase her everyday back to us. So what I call the, in her back series. So I think it's really fun, because I think it's a way of you knowing somebody on a more intimate level. So we filmed the first episode, as I've already discussed, so we're just going to roll it now. So enjoy. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you, darling.
When you came down, I was just like, no, I mean, you already
makeup transforms.
No, but seriously, you already looked amazing even when I got in. But then when you came down, I was like, oh wow, this is really nice. Love it.
It's this foundation I'm using is. Have we started? Or?
Yeah, we
okay.
No, it's fine.
Okay, so this foundation I'm using is. I can remember when I first was introduced to it, it's Armani.
Okay.
And when I was first introduced to it was in Dubai. That was Sada's wedding.
Oh, right, okay.
And I went into kind of one of the department stores to buy some makeup.
Yeah.
And I was actually looking for someone to do my makeup for the wedding, one of the events.
Yeah.
And she introduced me to this foundation, the Armani, I can't remember what it's called, but anyways, when she put it on my skin, it was like it melted in. And since then, it's like the foundation I bring out on special occasions. And I thought to wear it today. Funny fact about this foundation: every time I wear it, every time I get a compliment, and not just a compliment. There was once I was in London and I wore it, and I was stopped on the street, and I was quite taken aback because I was wearing my headphones.
Yeah.
And this lady kind of like stopped me. I thought she was going to ask me something like about directions or whatever. And she said to me, she said, "What foundation are you wearing?" And I was like, "Oh, wow, okay." So I've had several instances like that with the foundation. So yeah.
It really blends in. Like,
Yeah,
really
it melts.
well.
It
Yeah,
melts.
it melts.
Like, I recommend it.
Yeah.
Because it looks natural, but then it also, there's something, it brightens the skin as well. And it does that whilst making your skin look natural.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You usually only get that, I suppose, with like tinted moisturizers. It's very hard with like foundation,
exactly. And that's the thing. A good point, because a lot of foundations almost put a layer on your skin. This one doesn't. And what it does is it's like it melts into the skin, and then it just makes your natural tone pop. So yeah,
it's really lovely.
Thank
Maybe
you.
I'll have to.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get the actual name, but it's like one of the most known foundations out there for like for a natural look.
Look. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Well, you look amazing.
Thank
anyway,
you, Ollie. Thank you.
Can you just walk us through your outfit? Because like, you know, when you came in, I was like, oh my God, I love your outfit. Like, it's so nice. Love it. Like,
so
really
I'm wearing a jumpsuit. This is actually a fairly recent purchase. I think I bought it sometime last year. It's just a nice free flowing, this sort of pleat. There's a name for it which I don't know, but I can't remember. But I quite just liked how free flowing the jumpsuit was, and how it kind of just, it's a nice one on a spring day or a summer day as well. So I got this from DKNY.
Okay.
My blazer is from Balmain, and I've had this for a while, but I don't wear it often.
Okay.
It's quite structured, and I feel like I bring this out on special occasions because it gives me a power look. And sometimes it could be intimidating depending on where I'm going. Like if I wore this to work, it might be a bit too much. And that's not bad necessarily. Like I could wear it to an interview. I'm yet to do so, but I could wear it to an interview. But I tend to wear it on evenings out, like if I'm going for dinner.
Okay.
And if I'm wearing something fairly simple underneath, I feel like the blazer just makes it pop. And so it's a balance of the power that the blazer brings, especially with the pronounced shoulder pads, and kind of the more simplistic kind of what I'm wearing under. You know. So I thought the two complemented each other quite well. I'm just wearing a pair of loafers as well.
Nice.
The Gucci loafers. So
very lovely.
Yeah.
I really like the fact that it's actually like blue and not black, because usually like blazers, they tend to be like black, right?
Yeah, you know, it's a good point. When I went to buy this, I wasn't too sure whether to get the black or blue, because the thing about black is it goes with pretty much everything. But then I felt that the black version of this wasn't as, I would say, it didn't excite me as much as the blue. And I do like colours. I do naturally gravitate towards colours, although as I get older, I find myself gravitating now to more neutral stuff.
Okay.
But I feel like blue is one of those kind of more exciting colors that it's not over the top.
Yes.
You know, and this kind of navy blue. So it's not over the top. It's just about right. And it goes with most things as well. So it's one of the reasons why I was like, okay. And also this had been on my must purchase list for a very long time. And I treated myself a couple of years ago.
It looks really, really nice. Where would you wear this outfit to? If you were...
I would probably wear it to, I would probably wear it with heels, probably. And I would probably wear it to a dinner, and a very nice dinner.
Nice.
So if Will's taking me out to you know, whether we're celebrating something
Yeah.
or if it's just a, you know, you know, if he's like, oh, just get dressed and I'm going to take you out, that sort of thing, then I could probably wear this outfit. Yeah.
It looks really
Thank
nice.
you, darling.
Anyways. But as I told you, I sort of curated some jewelry pieces for you, not knowing what you would wear. And I was like, when I saw you come in, I was like, I'm not entirely sure I curated anything that might go with your outfit, but I'm not sure.
I think you did.
But yeah, so I would just sort of walk you through. So here, obviously in this section, you have earrings, some rings, and a couple of necklaces, and bracelets as well. And they're a mixture of the collections that we have going on. These we're actually yet to launch yet. They're our summer sort of range, but yeah, you know, special persons, special occasion. So yeah, so these are the jewelry pieces that I thought you might naturally sort of like. And I try to play it safe, not really knowing what your outfit might be. So I would sort of open it up to you in terms of you picking what you think goes with your outfit.
Do I get to wear it as well?
Of course, absolutely.
Okay. So, right, because I'm wearing blue. Now, actually, I would probably have gone for the green because I love green. It's one of my favorite colors, and it's one of my mom's favorite colors as well.
Okay.
However, because I'm wearing blue, I probably won't go for any of the greens.
Okay.
I love gold.
Okay.
That is my metal of choice. Usually when I purchase jewelry, it tends to be on the gold side.
Okay.
I think it just works with my skin tone. So it tends to be what I gravitate to.
Yeah.
I do absolutely adore this color though. And I've got these.
Yes.
Yeah.
The red agate. Yeah. The earrings.
So yeah. Yeah, when I wore these the other day, I absolutely loved the way it just worked with my outfit. So what I tend to do, so if I think about like what goes with this outfit, then would a necklace work? Probably not quite, just because of the buttons and the detail on there, and it might be a bit too much.
Yeah.
So what I would probably prefer to do is go with like nice dangly earrings.
Got it.
And probably these ones.
Okay, so the trico earrings.
Like a bit of hoop. Shall I try it on? Thank you.
So the trico earrings. Yeah, that's a really cool choice actually.
And I think this will work. Oh, am I getting it? Yeah. I think this will work quite well.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you agree. I don't feel like this outfit needs any necklace.
I do agree.
So shall I put that one on?
Yeah. I do agree. I think it's because as well the dress goes quite high on your neck.
Exactly.
So if you put like a necklace, it would just make it sort of bulky in a way.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it.
So I think like that is supposed to be just nice and like elongated and elevated.
Yeah.
So I think that earrings are the better way to, and that goes really well.
And that works.
Yeah.
And then what I would probably, I do love ring. Oh, I do love this. This is stunning. So I would probably put that. I've got fat fingers, so I have to find a finger that fits. Probably put that. Oh, that's
nice. That's really lovely.
And then I would probably go for another one. Probably.
Usually I should have asked you your ring size. I just realized.
It's fine. I just have to find a finger that fits. My right hand tends to have chunkier. So it's interesting. I said I do love gold. I am wearing my I'm not okay to wear that.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what is it? Titanium. So, but that's the only kind of metal of that tone that I tend to wear, and then everything else gold. So that's kind of how I would go.
Okay.
Not too much. But again, I think because of how I'm dressed, and this blazer as well, because it's got such pronounced shoulder pads and the buttons and everything, I don't feel I need too much to
Agreed.
make it pop.
I
So
completely
I
agree.
think this works, the earrings and then the rings as well. And ooh, it's tempting. Let's have a look. That could go. That could work as well, but I wouldn't. Just again, just to keep it simple,
I completely agree.
I would probably just go with these 3 items.
I completely agree. And it's a very nice choice because the buttons on your blazer are like, I think, a statement already.
Exactly, of its own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like if you had like a brooch or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So to put more might actually distract, but to put less is like
exactly. Less is more.
Less is more.
Yeah.
I love that. Less is more. But you know, it's so true. Like when I was younger, especially when I was in my 20s, oh my God, my jewelry.
Chunky. And I was like that as well. I think it was also, we have to remember, back in, I don't want to give our ages away. Back in those days, back in those days, the kind of style, the fashion at the time was, chunky, overstated jewelry, and that was in.
Yeah.
So that
more
was like
less.
Yeah. I like that. Almost less. Exactly. So that was, everyone kind of had earrings that were like huge and this, that, and the other, and it was okay to pair those with like huge necklaces as well. But of course, these days it feels like, and again, I don't know if it's down to age and maturity, but it feels like the less is more kind of approach seems to work really well, especially for work. So. Yes. For me, for example, when I go to work, my jewelry is very understated.
Okay.
But I tend to, and
is there a reason for it? Like,
it's just I feel more. How would I say? I feel really bold and in your face. Like I wouldn't even say bold. Really in your face jewelry. Okay. Can be quite distracting.
Agreed.
And there's a sense of, it can look a bit less professional than, understated and elegant jewelry. Yeah. So I tend to kind of gravitate more towards that. Like I could wear these earrings to work. These are fantastic. They're understated and elegant. And that's why, and I tend to, even outside of work, I tend to gravitate towards that a lot as well. Yeah. And so what I find myself doing these days as well is when I get ready and I wear my jewelry, I find myself kind of taking off some pieces just to kind of tone it down a bit. So again, I don't know if it's maturity. I don't know if my sense of style and fashion has changed over the years. I believe it has. But I tend to kind of just, and depending on what I'm wearing, like sometimes you need the jewelry to pop because the outfit perhaps doesn't pop as much, and sometimes it's the other way around. So it's balance. It's all about balance.
I completely agree. And I find that depending on the color of outfit that you have as well, that can dictate whether it's more or whether it's less.
That's right.
So like
like black. Oh my gosh, that is great. Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you had like bolder colors like pinks or reds, you can just do like a few pieces or actually even a couple.
And that's a good point. That's a good point, because when it comes to accessories, like the color does matter a lot. And back in the day, I would complement, like, I could be wearing green and then I would wear blue accessories and so on. Back in the day, I don't do that as much. Like I tend to keep it down to about 2 colors, max 3, with head to toe. Yeah. So it's one of those ones where, but black, I find black and white, you can go really bold with the jewelry and it doesn't look over the top.
I completely agree.
Just because they're more neutral colors.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
Oh, this has been brilliant. Yay! Hi everyone, I'm still with Debby Thornley. I almost said Soja.
You can use either.
I'm still with Debby Thornley, and in this section we're going to be playing, actually not even a game based on the 73 questions by Vogue. Rather, what I've done is curated a list of questions from a stack of cards that a friend of mine gifted me a few years back. And essentially, these questions are based on trying to find yourself or like rationalize yourself more, have deeper conversations, and sort of reflect on progress, like how your year has been. So I curated this question specific for you, Debbie. Okay. So we're going to kickstart now.
All right.
You ready?
Okay. Yeah, no pressure. Let's go.
Okay, first question. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Oh, it's already hard. Like, you didn't start with the easy question.
It was the easiest one.
In 3 words.
In 3 words.
I always get a bit funny about describing myself.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not someone who, I don't like talking about myself, if it makes sense. Because I feel like how I see myself might be quite different from how people view me. So then when I think about the answer to that question, I'm thinking more about, okay, well, how do people view me? But how I believe
Okay.
I am is, and the 3 words I would use is, one is focused.
Agreed.
Super focused on every aspect of my life. I believe in growth. I believe in applying oneself to get what you want. And I believe focus is at the heart of that. I would say playful as well. I tend to be quite jovial, and I'm the person that maybe sometimes it might be a bit odd, but I like to break the ice.
Yes.
And I like to crack jokes and have fun. I do love fun. As focused as I can be, I do love to have fun, and I balance the focus out with doing that. And so when I meet up with friends and family, there's a lot of laughter, and that warms my soul. So I absolutely love being the joker amongst a group. Perhaps the third word I would use to describe myself is a bit complex in ways, in that I tend to, and perhaps it's this, duality of having a focused, kind of serious side to myself, but also having this fun, light-hearted side to myself. And it's a bit of a duality there.
Yeah.
And then, just the complexity of all the other things that surround it. I suppose those will be the 3 words. So focus, fun, and complex.
I completely agree, actually. That's the way I see you. No, seriously, that is the way I see you. Like, you're super, like, you have a 2020 like vision about what it is that you want to do. And I think that you challenge yourself to be better. I think that's also another thing that I've noticed about you. And you have a curiosity as well to learn. Like, honestly, like, I've noticed that, like, you never shy away from asking, like, questions. It was actually from you that I got that initially, like, that tendency to ask questions. Because, like, the way, like, parents raise you in Nigeria or in Lagos.
You just accept what you see.
Precisely. Just accept what you see, what you hear, what you're told.
Yeah.
And it was from you that you started sort of asking questions. And I was like, what is going on here? But then I thought, actually, why don't you ask questions? It was from you, actually, that I got that amazing ability.
Oh, thank you. That's such a kind thing to say.
Oh, no worries. Second question. What good things happened to you this week?
Ooh, this week. You know what? Because my start of the week, if I'm allowed to say, was fairly rough.
Oh no!
I had gotten off a flight on Saturday morning, and straight after that, well, rough in a good way.
Okay.
It was filled with a lot of lovely things. Okay. So I by no means will change it.
Okay.
But I think as I get older, my body tells me, Debbie, you're not as young as you were. You're not able to bounce back from these things as easily as you once were. So I stepped out of a flight on Saturday morning in Manchester, stepped into a hotel, got changed, and went for my sister-in-law's hen do. And that was amazing. It was fantastic. And I was so pleased to be there for her. And I wouldn't have missed that for anything.
Yeah.
I did deprive myself of a lot of sleep, and that caught up with me at the start of the week. So it was a rough.
Did you drive from Manchester?
No, so I took the train. And if I'm allowed to say on camera, do not combine jet lag with a hangover. It does not work, and it never will. And so it made my recovery from jet lag even longer. But having said that, I think, the great thing, looking at the positive side of things, and so yesterday, or I believe it's today, it's International Women's Day.
Yes, it is.
And yesterday we had a kind of a celebration of that at work.
Okay.
It was virtual. And there were a number of quite prominent and remarkable women from across our Finlays board, Swire board, and there was an external lady as well that attended, a senior leader. And one of the things she said, I actually wrote it down, I scribbled it down. I was like, this is an amazing quote. She was like, it's important to look at the world in terms of abundance rather than lack. Ooh. And so this question makes me look at, okay, well, I did start the week off tired, and I did it did take me a while to recover from my jet lag and hangover. But having said that, when I look at the abundance, I got to come back home and see my husband and see the dog as well.
Yeah.
The weather's great.
Yeah.
And also, I have a job that actually didn't require me to be in work for the week. I only went in on Thursday.
Yeah.
Just to meet with one of our senior leaders from the US that flown over, and it was already pre-booked. And so that flexibility, I have to be grateful for that. I have to, that's an abundance I have really, to be able to have that flexibility with work. And so I was able to recover, I suppose, at home, get back to my routine, going to the gym and walking the dog, spend time with my husband and so on. So I would say I can't point to one thing per se.
Yeah.
But then, perhaps that statement I heard yesterday is, in a way, kind of how I want to move forward, to look at the world in abundance as opposed to lack. So,
I really like that.
Yeah.
Because it's like reframing your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. You learn something every day. Okay, third question. What makes you happy?
Ooh. So you know what? I can't answer a question straight. What makes me happy? I think for me, it's family, it's friends, it's love. And it's the comfort and security that brings. And it's spending time with family, spending time with friends. I find that, when I do that, time just goes. Like, you look at your watch and it's like 4 hours, 5 hours later, and you're still having a laugh, and you're still kind of, just, happy in this moment. And so because my family, the bulk of my family don't live in the UK, and my immediate family, that is, and because my friends are scattered around the country and the globe and so on, I find that I cherish those moments even more. And so I get a lot of refueling from making time to have those moments with my family and friends. And so that makes me happy. That brings me a lot of joy.
I love that. Okay, next question. What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, okay. So, these days it tends to be, I don't want to repeat myself, a lot of it is around, like I mentioned, I've got family and friends scattered around the globe. And I find these days kind of making memories with family and friends is the key thing. And so for me, what fun looks like is going away with friends, going away with family, to to any country really. I could probably have fun in even some of the most most unstable of countries, but ultimately for me, it's not about where I am; it's who I'm with.
I love that.
And so fun is about that. If I'm with the right people, we could probably even make fun out of being anywhere.
Yes.
And so it's really, for me, that's, and so the activities I would do, it would be anything from, sightseeing to food makes me very happy. And wine
relate
as well. But yeah, food, and, for me, like, I'm a proper foodie, so I tend to spend a lot of time when I meet up with friends. We tend to go to. We do it all the time. So and we have so much fun doing that.
Agreed.
So for me, but like I said, it's not about where we are per se. It's about who I'm with, and that's the key. Yeah,
I like that. That's a really nice answer, actually. Okay. Ooh. What is your favorite smell and sound?
Ooh. So, favorite smell?
Favorite sound?
Is it a fragrance or
It can
is
be
it
anything?
Okay, so maybe I'll go with fragrances. I absolutely adore Diptyque
Okay.
fragrances. I think
I've not smelled it once.
that's what I'm wearing now.
Oh, that smells nice.
Yeah. It's it's one of those fragrances that I have to say. So it lasts so long.
Oh, really?
Like I've had like blazers where I would spray it on, and several weeks later I could still smell it.
No pregnant behavior, but that smells so lovely.
It's
I like that.
so this one is called El Capital.
Okay.
So Diptyque is a French brand.
Yeah.
And the fragrances are not well known as much as perhaps they should, but they've got so many. My sister absolutely adores them as well. So both of us wear Diptyque now, and for me, like, I'm actually phasing out all my other fragrances. I'm someone, like, if I find something that works for me, I stick to it.
Me too.
So I found Diptyque works for me. I love the scent. I get a lot of compliments on this as well.
Good because it doesn't smell like masculine or feminine.
No, it's unisex. Like, yeah, exactly. Again, this is one of those ones as well where I've gotten loads of compliments from. I remember Will and I went to a comedy club in Bicester recently, and the lady who was at the desk, she actually leaned over. Will was a bit concerned, actually. She leaned over, and it was as if she was going to topple over, and just to smell me. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're fragrant!" And I had to write down for her the fragrance, and she was even apologetic. She was like, "I'm so sorry," and she was looking at, "Well, I'm so sorry," but it's a magnetic fragrance. So that's my favorite scent. What was the other question?
Favorite sound?
Oh, sound. I'll probably talk music. I love music.
Yeah.
So what I'm into these days, actually, I have to credit Will for it, because both artists are. He kind of found them, I suppose, and introduced me to them. So one is Ezra Collective. I sent it to you, and then one of the reasons why I sent you that note that these guys are worth a listen to. A number of reasons. One, they're a Nigerian group, and I absolutely love their fusion of Nigerian sounds and instrumentation with kind of more modern, and the kind of Nigerian sounds and instrumentation they fuse into their music. It's not like current Afrobeat. It's like more, those classics, Fela Kuti and so on. And so they fuse that with like more modern sounds. So I'm really into them. I'm really into Olivia Dean as well.
I would love to see her live.
Yeah, I would love to see her live as well. Really, really nice. So I'll credit Will for that, and you'll be happy I'm crediting him for introducing me to those artists. But those are my sounds for.
I love that. I love the fact that you like music, because honestly, I can't do anything without music. I can't even function, like to work, to clean, whatever. Like there has to be music in the background. Okay, interesting question. Sorry, I curated this last week, so now it's like I'm really discovering it. Okay, what was the last act of self-care you gave yourself?
Shaving my legs.
No, but it is. I'm sorry now. Okay, you know what? Full transparency, I'm actually going to say, now that's a chore. I remember when that wasn't a chore when I was much younger, but I was like, oh my God, here we go. Like, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think, so one of the things I try to do is, these days, is I try to, at least once a month, just spend some time at the spa.
Nice.
And so usually during the week, I, if there's a morning opening or something like that at my health club, I would go for 90-minute kind of full on, either it's a scrub, full body scrub or full body massage, a facial. But I try to create the time to do that.
I love that.
So that's something I kind of find rejuvenating these days.
I love that. The reason I think why I asked that question is that obviously, I think as you get higher, especially in corporate, you have less and less time for yourself. And I often wonder whether people carve out time and space just for themselves.
I think for me, it's important. And to your point, and it's not even just as we progress in our careers, it's also as we progress in age as well.
Agreed.
It's important to make that time. Because it's not necessarily, I'm not saying age in terms of, our bodies are, degrading or whatever. It's more like we have more stresses, we have more, more things that we're taking in and more responsibilities. And for that, you need to balance it out with more self-care. So more so than back in the day, perhaps when, we were it felt like we were made of titanium. And, but these days, it's more important to balance it out. And by doing so, you need to create the time to, of course, create that balance.
I agree. And I think it's a maturity as well with age. Like, you said, like when you're younger, it's like you just feel invincible. It's so funny. I was having this conversation with Mira in the car. Like when you're young, you just feel truly invincible. And I think for me, it was when I hit 30, I was like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm like a full-blown woman. And like, it's that realization of like, okay, carving out time and space just to prioritize yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And ensure that you're, getting that balance, I suppose. Oh, actually, I think you've answered this to a certain degree. What is the difference between living and existing to you? So I think that might be what it is.
Yeah. I think so. The balance.
The balance. Okay, let us go to the next question. When was the last time you gave yourself a compliment?
Oh,
because this sort of
so that's linked to what we were speaking about earlier. Maybe I would say 10 minutes ago. I think like I mentioned, I'm not someone who likes to give myself compliments. There's a bit of, and even just getting to the root of why I'm not naturally that way inclined. I think naturally women are not that way inclined. Men tend to be kind of much better at doing that than women are. But there's also the element of, I don't want to seem like, there's the element of how do you balance that with humility? And so I already have I present as a very confident person. And, for me, I feel like that is enough.
Okay.
And I think to slap on compliments on myself in public on top of that confidence almost seems like, who does she think she is? Like, why she...
That's
And that's how I feel. So I might give myself internal compliments.
Okay.
And maybe less so compliments, but encouragement. Like sometimes, if I'm having a very long day, or I've got a huge, task ahead of me, or I've got something that I feel quite nervous about, I might psych myself up and say, Debbie, you've got this, Debbie. But I do it privately.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. I love that because I think I think the question was more directed towards just privately.
Oh, okay, privately. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, not publicly. I mean, there's some people that do it publicly.
I know,
exactly. And
it really takes me aback because I'm just like, I wish we had that.
Yeah, exactly. Good on that.
I wish I had that, but I think maybe as Nigerians, it's not something.
No, it's not.
It isn't.
Again, I think a lot of it is gender related because men, not all men, a lot of men are able to give themselves compliments quite openly. And, good on them because there's a lady I work with who I'm quite close to. And, she's had a wonderful career, a longevity in her career and so on, and done so many amazing things. And she's not afraid to give herself a compliment. I actually really admire that in public. She will say, I'm great at what I do.
Wow.
In public.
That's very American.
She's not American. I'm not going to say her nationality.
No,
But she's not British either.
Okay.
But she would just say it.
I love that.
She would just go, I know I'm great at what I do.
It's very American, because they have that sort of culture.
Yeah,
when they just say it, it's like,
And it's, the first time I heard that, I was taken aback. I was like, oh wow, not in a,
I know.
It was more like, oh wow, I've never really heard a woman do that, and I quite admire it. Would I would sometimes do it, but it would be more, if I'm having my end of year review, then perhaps that comes out. And even then, I used to find those things so difficult. Oh my gosh, I used to hate it. Because just sitting there and talking about how wonderful I am, I've done this and I've done that, and it used to be so unnatural to me. I always used to say my work speaks for itself. I don't need to. But then I realized as I progressed, and of course the competition and so on, and there are people around me, my peers beating their chests, about, doing a song and dance about everything they do, even the most minute of things. And I was there kind of going, no, my work will speak for itself. And so I've shifted my mindset a bit, so that I'm finding, I wouldn't say I'm more comfortable about complimenting myself in public or outside of in my private spaces, but I wouldn't say it's a natural trait. It's something I've had to learn.
Yeah, something you've had to train yourself to
exactly.
do. But I love that, especially because from a work perspective, it's needed.
Oh yeah.
To say what it is that you've done or whatever. Because trust me. People, you think people are noticing, but only if you do.
Exactly.
If you don't vocalize.
Exactly.
You have to vocalize.
And that's the key,
Yeah. I love that. Okay, I love this question for you. What is the first thing you notice about a person? I'm actually curious to see what your answer is.
I don't want to sound superficial, so...
No. But I think this will be very important for people, I think, generally, because how you present is so important.
Yeah.
I think presentation matters in terms of portraying who you are to a certain extent. And it would be quite useful to know what a leader notices when they see a person for the first time.
Yeah, I think it depends on the setting.
Got it.
So if we're talking about a work professional setting, I think for me it's a combination of things.
Okay.
It's body language.
Okay.
It's the attire is important as well. But then I would only notice it if it's really extreme.
Okay.
You know? So if it's like, if a person looks like, you know, really, like if a person was wearing this kind of blazer, you know, and showed up to a meeting I was in, I would be like, okay, you know, this person is ready for business, for example. And so I would notice that straight away. And if a person was like, if a person rocked up in jeans and a t-shirt to a board meeting, for example, I would notice that in my industry, it's just not common. In a lot of industries, it's common. Like, you know, if you work for like the Facebooks and so on of this world, it's actually, if you rock up in a suit, you would stand out.
Agreed.
You know, so I think some industries, you know, that's acceptable. But for me, it's like an extreme based on my industry and how kind of people tend to present. Body language is also super important.
Yeah.
For me, I notice handshakes, how firm they are, eye contact as well. I notice, and I even try, I check in with my body language when I'm, you know, with people, because things like crossed arms or, you know, kind of make myself small.
Yeah.
Already small. Yeah, exactly. So I pick up these days on those signals. Yeah, I would say.
Okay, so but just generally, even outside of work, like what's the first thing?
So outside of work, I would say a similar thing. I notice, you know, how I love it when people kind of look like they have taken time to put themselves together.
Okay.
And so I admire that.
Okay.
When people kind of come in looking like, okay, you know, it wasn't a 5-minute job to get ready. It was like, you know, so I admire that. And I noticed that straight away.
Okay.
So I would say probably that's.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. What new skills did you learn last year? So what new skills did you learn last year?
Can I do last year's stroke early this year?
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm really proud of this skill. So,
okay, tell me.
So as a woman of my age, I'm not going to give my age away.
Debbie, you were so young.
I'm still young. But one of the things I've always wanted to do for a very long time, and I've been procrastinating and so on, is to learn how to swim.
Oh, can you?
And so, and not fully, but I've been taking lessons this year. And actually Tuesday, maybe this should have been the answer to your question on one of the key things that I've achieved this week.
Yeah.
One of my key highlights. For the first time, I did have the floaters on. I had a floating belt on. I swam about 10 laps.
Oh, wow.
With the belt. And with the floater belt.
Yeah.
I was when I did my first lap, I just couldn't believe it, because I'd done some classes prior, and I was like, at some point I was thinking, okay, maybe this isn't for me, and so on. And Will kept encouraging me, and loads of people kept encouraging me that it takes time, this, that, and the other. And my instructor always used to say that you need to relax, you need to relax. And me and Walter have never, apart from showers and jacuzzis and all that, we've never really been friends when it comes to like entering a pool or, you know, the sea or whatever. So I just didn't have the trust in water. It sounds silly, but I didn't trust water, that it's got me, like, you know, that I wouldn't drown or whatever. And I've had some past incidents where I've almost drowned and so on. So I went in without the trust of water, and I needed to build that. And I just kept hearing my instructor's voice when I was, you know, this time around on Tuesday, that just relax, take it slow. And once she put the belt on me and I entered the pool, and she stood on the other end, and I was like, I don't know if I'll make it there, but yeah, let's give it a go. And, you know, I just swam.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm super excited about that. I'm hoping to get better, and I'm hoping to hopefully take the floaters off and be able to swim on kind of aided.
Nice. I love that. I still can't swim, me personally.
It's worth learning.
I can't.
And I've been inspired by my sister as well. She learned to swim around the same age I am now.
Yeah.
So friends as well.
Yeah.
They learn to swim, in their 30s as well. And it was so encouraging. I was like, okay, if you guys can do it, that means I can. Yeah. So yeah, definitely I encourage you to do that.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Maybe I shall. Miro just dunked me in the water.
But do it with an instructor.
Yeah, I think
all this, I'll teach you. It's easy. All those things don't work. Do it with an instructor.
Okay. Let me see. I'm going to skip a couple of questions because you've actually provided the responses in your written.
And my answers are not too long.
Oh, I love that. I love like your pace and what you're actually giving. Love it. This question, I'm curious to know what your response. What did you not succeed with that turned out to be a blessing in disguise afterwards?
Whew.
I told you, deep
That
cards.
Deep. That is so deep. What did I not get that turned out to be a blessing in disguise afterwards?
It can be anything. It doesn't even have to be like work related.
I would say I've had a lot of, there are probably a few I can pull from my career, but I think the one that stands out is probably prior to the pandemic, and you know this story quite well.
Yeah.
When it was shaping out to be quite a fantastic 2020. I had gotten a new role, which was a fantastic role, leading the R&D department in our North American facility for the company I was working for. I had started the role, and we were myself, my husband were supposed to move out to North America, and I had started the role from the UK briefly with the kind of intent to transition.
Yeah.
And we had already started getting ready for that, and we had put things in motion. We're giving out stuff, we were selling stuff, we were boxing up stuff. Then the pandemic happened. Pretty much most countries went into lockdown, and we were in this limbo phase. And anyways, the way it all unraveled was such that eventually the role I was going to do was phased out. And then I was facing this situation whereby I didn't have a role to go into. The role I had come out of was already filled.
Yeah.
So I didn't have that to go back into. And so I was really at this crossroads in my career where I was facing, pretty much, for an organization I'd worked in for a very long time, pretty much facing not having anything to move into. And so I know at the time it was very tough for me and also for Will as well, to kind of digest first of all, the limbo state wasn't nice, nor was the unknown, okay, what's going to happen next? And I think really at that time, for me, when I was in the moment, it felt like the end of the world. It really did. And, I was kind of angry, and I was bitter, and, it wasn't nice, coupled with all the uncertainty of the pandemic as well. So it was really quite unprecedented. I hate that word because we heard it too much during the pandemic, but it really was because, all that stuff was going on. But ultimately, fast forward to now, I'm loving what I do. I am pretty much able to, I'm working in an organization that is much more dynamic. I've got much more experience and I've got much more of a remit as well in terms of what I'm doing. I get to travel the world, and I'm being recognized for what I do as well. And so, when I look back, I can look back now at that time with less anger. And thinking about it as well, probably during and after the pandemic, it probably wasn't the time to relocate to a different country. And so, would I want to relive that moment? No, I wouldn't. But I'm happy that when I look back now, I'm happy things panned out the way they did.
All roads led here.
Yes, exactly.
Like, honestly, it really did. And I must say, like, since you started working in your new company, like, you seem lighter and, like, just more engaged. Like, you know, you just seem to be loving what you're doing. Not that you didn't before, but it just, like, this one just feels like you have more of autonomy, I would say.
Exactly. And it is very much so. The nature of the organization is very different. And it took me a while to get used to it. But then, you know, once I found my footing and, you know, got my head round, you know, how best to navigate the organization. Now I'm absolutely loving it. I'm, you know, loving the people I'm working with. I'm loving the kind of like the nature of the role as well. Is strategic mixed with tactical stuff, and it's just all kind of all the things I actually love in a job kind of blended into one.
Yeah, I love that. Ooh, yeah, let's get that one. I'm looking at like the ways that I can sort of phrase it. Okay, you know what? I'll just ask them. What do you imagine yourself doing 10 years from now?
Oh dear.
That's what I thought. I was like, should I?
10 years from now. I don't know. You know, so there's a really good quote.
Okay.
That's Denzel Washington made. Kind of resonated with me in terms of the first third of our lives we are learning, and we should focus on learning. And I'm doing no, let's have this on record, I'm doing no more formal education beyond a certain, like if it's a few weeks, a few months, I can stomach it. But like years and years in formal academia, and so I'm not doing that anymore. And for me, I kind of consider myself a lifelong learner, so I don't think it stops at the first third of my life. But I think my mindset it has shifted to less, you know, how would I say, academic learning to more learning about how the world works, how interaction works, interpersonal interactions, and kind of more emotional intelligence and how psychology works.
Got it.
And so that's the kind of learning that I'm actually really interested in these days. But then there's so Denzel's quote was the first third learning, the second third earning, and the last third kind of giving back. Yeah. And I don't think it's like it happens in there's a clear demarcation. I think they're transitions. But I find myself looking more towards the earning comes with the territory as one progresses with their career. So that's good. Yeah. And I think, you know, in 10 years, it would even be better. So I know that. But for me, I find myself looking more at how can I give back? What are the things I can do to leave a legacy? Okay. And I'm by no means at the third. Oh, sorry. The third. You know, the third tranche. Exactly. So, but I find myself thinking about that more. Than perhaps I once did.
Okay, that's exciting.
And so, you know, I find myself kind of more willing to engage in things and also seeking things that involve helping others and, you know, helping break down barriers for others and so on and so forth. So I've kind of, when I look to 10 years from now, I think I would be much more focused on that side of things in terms of giving back, because that's kind of where my mind is at the moment. And I think I would have more tangible wins in that regard. You know, there are a number of people I mentioned today, and I know they will be further on in their career. I know, you know, there will be a lot of tangible wins I would be able to pull from in those 10 years that for me is as important as what I earn and, you know, my educational background.
Agreed.
You know,
I love that. I love that response. I actually saw that quote in your IWD sort of answers, and I was like, I love that.
It's a courtesy of Denzel Washington.
Let me see. I'm gonna skip like a few. Okay, I would ask this one. What small act of kindness were you once shown that you will never forget?
Ooh. I think I have a few.
Okay.
But from a career standpoint, they're two. Can I give two answers to that?
Of course.
Okay, so the first one is when I was younger, I wasn't as focused as I am today. And you're one of my oldest friends. And we've known each other from when we were teenagers, and you can probably attest to this. I wasn't as focused as I was today. And I think for me, there was a turning point when I was doing a gap year in university, and I'd gone to live with my sister in Cardiff. And for me, it wasn't, I wouldn't say it's even a small act of kindness, but just that kind of, my sister's much more focused. She's always had a good head on her shoulders. She's always been a fantastic person. And she had just graduated at the time, and she was working at the time, and just spending time with her and the friends and kind of seeing what focus could lead to was a turning point for me. And the act of kindness was, I mean, she didn't really need to take me in. You know, it wasn't like I was on the streets or whatever. But, it was a decision that she made, like, come live with us, come see how we live, come spend some time with us, you know. And it wasn't a conscious effort to you know, coach me or whatever, but sometimes, again, you know, this is why leading by example is so powerful, because just seeing the example they were, and that act of kindness taking me in, and all of them taking me under their wing, I would say it was a turning point in how I started to view the world, and how I started to view focus as well, and the need to focus to be able to achieve all the things I wanted to achieve. I would say that's definitely one. And then the last one that comes to mind is when I was starting off in my career, I always used to think, how do I differentiate myself from my peers?
Okay.
And from an experience standpoint. And I remember kind of like, you know, doing a lot of courses and all that. And one thing that was clear that was a bit of a gap was just having more international experience. And for me, I wanted that. So I remember the guy who was mentoring me at the time, I remember sitting with him, and I was like, you know what? I need to get myself some international experience. And he was like, okay, are you sure you want to do that? And I was like, yeah. He's like, are you ready to go wherever? And I'm like, yeah, wherever. Just sign me up. And I remember literally 2 weeks after having that conversation with him, he said, Debbie, come. So we were having one of our one-to-ones, and he was like, come over here. So I sat beside him, and he showed me an email, a confidential email on his laptop. And it was an email from the chief R&D officer to all the directors and VPs in the business, saying, look, we've just built a greenfield site in Mexico, and we've realized that we don't have enough people to kind of embed our ways of working and processes into those sites. So we need some veterans to come over and, you know, kind of to help put things straight and put things in order, and to embed things really. And so he looks at me. So I read the email, and he looks at me, and he's like, do you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, okay, let's go for it. And within a few weeks, in fact, within a week, I had a conversation with the um, hiring manager on that side.
Yeah.
Spoke about my skill set and so on and so forth. And within a week, they were like, okay, they want me.
Wow.
And then within a few months, I was in
Yeah.
Mexico.
Yeah.
And so that again was it was a small act of kindness. I wouldn't even say small. It was an act of kindness that was significant in my career, because that helps significantly even till today. Just having that experience, that international experience.
Yeah, I love that. I really like that. And the thing about it is that, like, it's so funny how, like, even small situations, well, it wasn't small.
Yeah,
It was
exactly. It's like, but it's small for them
For
in
them.
that,
It
doesn't take much
That's
effort
actually
for
true.
them, but the
That's a
impact
valid
is
point.
massive.
Yeah, massive, and even till now.
Yeah.
I like that answer. Really nice. Let me see. I'm gonna skip, just because. No, I'm gonna skip this one.
Yeah.
It was like, what would you be doing if you weren't doing, like, your career? But because of the answer that you gave for your IWD, I'm like, I think you'll still probably be doing this.
Yeah. You know what?
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I could answer that question.
Okay,
actually.
yes, please.
I think for me, I've always had a bit of a creative head on my shoulders as well, and so if I was to, like, when I was growing up, when I was much younger, I absolutely loved music and sports.
Okay.
And, I was always, participating in inter-house sports. Even kind of, at some point I was sprinting for the school's team.
Oh, wow.
And I was sprinting, like, in inter-school competitions. I wasn't very good at it eventually. When I was, I would say, in early secondary school, I was good at it. But then I never really grew much taller than I was when I was in primary school. And I remember in primary school, yeah, exactly. I don't know what happened. I think it was partly, I God knows.
No, but you're a good height anyway.
Yeah, but I am being really honest. I am, so I'm 6'2.5".
6'2".
Yeah. No, I'm actually 6'3" in the mornings. And so
I can attest to that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I've probably been, so when I was in primary school, interestingly enough, I was the second tallest in my class in my last year of primary school. And I used to, like, when you would line up for assembly and so on, I used to stand at the back.
Oh, wow.
And there was only one guy, and this was a mixed school, that was taller than me. So I used to think I would be quite tall. And I suppose I used to carry myself in a bit of an intimidating way. And perhaps that, that caught up with me. And maybe someone kind of swore for me or something like that I wouldn't grow any taller. But I kid you not, I haven't grown much. I've grown just a few inches since then. So whilst everyone was growing and sprouting, I was like, okay, what's going on here? So when I was so that's why early secondary school, I was great at sprinting. I was the second fastest in my school.
Oh, wow.
Girl. And so I used to run relays. I used to run 100 meters and so on. And but then, because everyone was getting taller, my legs can't take me that far, as far as a taller person. So unfortunately, I wasn't the fastest anymore, and I was dropping in the table. So I realized sprinting was perhaps not the way to go. And but I always loved sports. I was always very sporty. So if I honed in on sports, what I would love to, the sport I would have loved to play would have been tennis, probably, professionally. So I would have loved to do that. But that's perhaps for another lifetime. But then the other one is music. I was always very into music. And I played the saxophone for my school and so on. Yeah. So I was very into that. But then it wasn't, supported by my parents. So
in those days.
Yeah.
Nowadays,
oh my gosh.
I wasn't a musician.
Exactly. They're like, okay, let's get you drums. What is it? What do you want to play? I mean, it's like now. So I gave my eldest nephew my saxophone, the last one I had. I gave him that one, so he's playing now.
I love
and
that.
And then my youngest one, also youngest nephew, he's playing that.
I love that.
The saxophone as well. So we're all kind of living vicariously through them. And even sports as well. My dad was saying to my sister, "Oh, you need to enroll these boys in football academies and so on." They're like, so the mindset is shifting now amongst African parents and grandparents. That there is something in these kind of artsy type of types of profession.
Absolutely.
And so what I said in the IWD thing was I wasn't really into the arts, which was more referring to like history and
got it.
English and all those sorts of things. For me, I used to, literature and all those things. I used to find those fairly boring. To be fair. But then I was always into mathematics and all.
You have a very
things.
Logical mind.
Exactly. So and I also have a logical, practical mind. I like to understand how things fit together and so on. And so that's kind of why I went into the kind of sciences, engineering and so on. But
it's so crazy. Like I remember when we were in college together, you were one of the only few people that knew exactly what they wanted to do.
Oh, I didn't.
No, but you told me an engineer. I think you forgot it.
Oh,
you said an engineer.
That was that day.
Oh, is it?
So if you had asked me the next day, I would have had a different.
I was so wow. I was so lost. Like, wow. Because I was like, I don't know what I want to do.
Did I ever tell you the story of in college, I all the universities I applied to was for pharmacy, and eventually that didn't work out and so on, and I got accepted for biochemistry in Aston University, which is the university I went to. And when I went when I told my parents I was doing biochemistry, they were like, "What is that?" I mean, my parents are literate, but they are, how African parents are.
They're traditional.
Like, exactly. If it's not, you want to be a doctor or engineer or whatever, it's like, they understand what it is, but what biochemistry is, but they weren't supportive of it.
It's about the risk, I suppose.
Exactly.
In those days, coming out of university, you want a job straight after, or not.
Exactly. And to be fair, they were paying for it a lot of money. It's like, of course they should have a say. To a certain degree. So I don't fault their reception of that. And so I remember when my mom was on the softer side in terms of how she tried to push her agenda. So when she was kind of trying to push her agenda of, maybe think about other things, I remember looking on the school's website, and the biochemistry course was under a faculty called Chemical Engineering and Applied Chemistry.
Oh, which is what
so then I was like, chemical engineering. Maybe that might be better. And then I started looking at, the types of jobs chemical engineers got. And it was so diverse. And, there was everything from the petrochemicals to pharmaceuticals to food and beverages, which is the industry I am today. And so I was like, this is really cool. So then it was a case of, okay, how do I get myself into that?
Got it.
So when I went to the open day, I went up to the head of the department, and he was sitting down, and everyone else was sitting down filling out forms.
Yeah.
And I went up to him and I was like, can I, is it possible for me to change my course to chemical engineering?
Wow.
And he goes, what did you get in mathematics in college? And I was lucky again. I wasn't focused in college, so maths was the only thing that I could I could do really without focus, because I was good at it. And I'm giving myself a compliment.
I was so small. I was like so engrossed in this story.
But yeah, so you know, I just showed him my results, and right there and then, this was before when using laptops and computers were like rampant. He just crossed my name off biochemistry and put my name under chemical engineering, and that's how I got into chemical engineering.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah.
That is really impressive. You know why it's so impressive? Because usually when you're going to, it might have changed now. Like, I'm so old, so it might have changed. But back then, I would say back then, when you wanted to apply for a particular course at university, there were a number of spaces.
Yes,
So
exactly.
it would be filled. So
Exactly.
Wow,
yeah.
that's
So
impressive.
even me, I didn't realize. And I was trying my luck. I was really trying my luck. I was expecting him to go, oh, you're going to have to do this and that and so on. And I was just like, you know what? If you don't try, you would never know, right?
I love that.
And my mom, I credit my mom for it, because she was like, really encouraging me to just try and see. And it was that easy.
That's
and that
impressive.
was it. And that was it.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, that's how I went. I wasn't.
So maybe
I didn't have it
another
all figured out.
Another act of kindness, because like
Yeah, that's another one.
That's
I've had so
crazy.
many, and that's definitely another one, because
I'm like, honestly, I'm so impressed by that. Like, honestly, no, because I know it's not an easy thing to do, especially at university. Trying to get them. Usually, you have to go and see like the dean.
Yeah.
Or the vice chancellor, is that what they call it? Vice chancellor. To go and see them to say, make your own case, to say, exactly. Change, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. This was the head of the department at the time, really nice guy, Bruce Davis, his name was, still remember him quite clearly. And he took a chance on me, because really, there's no way he would have known I would have been good at it. But he took a chance on me, and that was it. The rest is history.
Love it. Okay, 2 questions. I would actually only choose one, because they sort of like are similar, like the tone. The last question I want to ask is, how can you tell if you are or if you're not following your heart? So like a gut feeling.
Yeah,
like when
that's
do you actually, first of all, do you believe in like a gut feeling?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay, cool.
I do. I think the way our bodies are designed is such a way that our bodies tell us or give us signals before our minds even sorry, the rest of our body, our guts, our heart rate, all that gives us signals before our mind even kicks in.
Agreed.
And so the question is, how can I tell?
Yeah. So how can you tell if you are or if you're not, or actually or are not following your heart?
I think it's the for me, it's like I wouldn't be at ease. So I would always have that nagging feeling. I would always have, I think maybe the best way to put it is, if I'm following my heart, and if I'm usually going to follow, and if I'm making the right decision, I end up in a place of feeling comfortable.
Got it.
And I end up feeling, letting my guard down and, that sort of thing. If I'm not, and if I've chosen to ignore the signals, then I don't feel that comfort. And I'm forever, my guard's up. I'm forever kind of like maybe not trusting and so on. And so that pattern will just continue.
Got it.
And so if I find myself in a position whereby I'm feeling like I'm not comfortable, I'm feeling like I'm not trusting the situation or the people around me, then it's a signal in my mind that my body is giving me that is probably not the place I should be.
Got it.
And I need to kind of get myself out of that situation.
Got it.
So I think also there are a number of ways these things translate as well in our health, and so, if I'm not sleeping well or this, that, and the other, those are also signals that I try not to ignore these days.
Yeah, I love that, because it's sort of tied into the other question, which was, when was the last time you consciously followed your gut feeling?
Yeah.
I wonder whether you actually, do you utilize your gut feeling at work, or is it all just logic? Because, sorry, apologies. Sorry. I
Did
meant
you use
to
the
say
middle
it,
finger?
middle finger, and then I realized because for me, like gut feeling tends to be like outside of work, but sometimes I do utilize it, but not as much. Like gut
Yeah.
feeling is more like outside of work is when I like utilize. I tend to
Yeah,
utilize it more.
I think we all in different capacities utilize it for work because to make strategic decisions, a lot of times you haven't got all the information in front of you that you need to make decisions. Now, for me, like you mentioned earlier, I'm quite a logical person. I'm in a profession where you need evidence to make decisions. So a lot of the decisions that I contribute to and that I make are evidence-based. However, there are some times where even the evidence, you base it off assumptions and you base it off qualitative evidence. And qualitative evidence sometimes is not clear-cut. Quantitative is, this is 2, this is 1. Okay, that's the larger number, clear. Qualitative is sometimes not clear-cut. So you need to bring some gut into that. Yeah, exactly. That's what God is. In my mind, that's what it is. It's like, yeah, exactly. Your intuition, you need to use that. But I think, early career-wise, that muscle isn't fully developed.
Agreed.
And also kind of understanding what your gut is telling you to do takes some work in terms of getting there that you can understand, okay, my gut is definitely telling me this is right and this isn't right and so on. So there's an element of that I do in work, and especially when it comes to like strategic decisions and so on. But I'm a very evidence-based person. I'm I'm very much a person who likes to build a body of evidence before making decisions, likes to have facts before making decisions. I am learning more these days that it's necessary to tap into the gut more with decision making at work and even in my kind of outside of work as well. I think it's important.
I'm really greedy. I'm just going to touch on one thing that you said about, earlier on in your career, perhaps you've not developed that muscle to where it should be. I wonder whether you can share with us how you develop that muscle to make it,
it's
stronger.
Gosh, that's a good question and a hard one.
Okay.
I think that sometimes, with a lot of these things, I think a lot of it is down to the skills that come with building on purposely and intentionally building on emotional intelligence.
Got it.
So when we think about, the textbook description of emotional intelligence, it will talk about self-awareness, it will talk about self-regulation, it will talk about all those things, empathy and so on. I think really in my mind, there's an element of the self-awareness in that, trusting yourself to also make the right decisions based off of your experience in life. And, as we get older, we're building more expertise. We've built more expertise, so we have more of that to lean back on. So that is not necessarily something you can learn in terms of in a classroom. That's something that the world and experience teaches and time teaches you. Yeah. So it's like tapping into that, tapping into, okay, what does the probability of, of it going right if we choose this direction? Based on past expertise, what has that taught us, And so you have more of that to lean back on. Then the other element to self-awareness also is, there's trust in your expertise, but there's also trust in your strengths as well, in that you are capable, you do have the, you wouldn't be doing that job if you couldn't make the right decisions. Yeah. And also there's an element of, even if it's the wrong decision, okay. Failure isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Agreed.
Because you learn from that as well.
Agreed.
So you know, again, there's that element of being okay to fail. And if it ends up that you're wrong and that costs you quite a bit, that's fine. Just learn from it, you know, and make sure you utilize that to make better decisions in the future. And so there's an element, I think those perhaps three things are what for me makes me a bit more confident to go into decision making with my guts and use more of it these days because of those three things.
I love that. Thank you so much. I've learned so much. Like, honestly, like it was a premise of Small Light series, but it was actually like intentional to like learn as much from you. But honestly, this is doing so great.
Hi everyone, I'm Debbie Thornley and I'm with AJOSEPO filming What's in My Bag. So I suppose I need to... Okay, so this is my trusted backpack that I tend to carry to work. I've been carrying this now for almost 2 years, and it's been with me pretty much all over the globe. And it's really sturdy. I absolutely love the print, the skin on the bag, and I absolutely love the fact that it can hold pretty much all what I need for my day of work. So, get started. So let me pull out the biggest item. I'll start with the bigger item. So I have my work laptop. Not anything overly exciting, but I tend to put that in a pouch so that it does not get damaged. I tend to have a lot of pouches and little bags in my bag because this hasn't got many compartments. It's got the main compartment and it's got the side compartment. So I tend to kind of like things a bit organized, which is why I carry a lot of pouches with me. This is my trusted notebook. This has been with me for many years and it has allowed me to go paperless, the Remarkable. So pretty much I have, since I've been working with Finlays actually, I've got 3 years worth of stuff in here. So I absolutely love it. I advise everyone go paperless. It is definitely worth the shift. So what's next? Umbrella. Definitely in UK weather you need it. So yeah, no surprise there. Got a little pouch again. This time for all my cables and wireless mouse and all that stuff. I won't bore you with the contents. Then I've got my kind of vanity pouch, I suppose. And I'll show you some of the contents here because I'm one of those commuters who tends to do their makeup en route to work. So I've got my trusted Fenty Beauty foundation. I have got my trusted Fenty Beauty lip gloss as well. Eyebrow pot. And the eyebrow brush is somewhere. And then this I actually really like. This is a staple. I've gone through so many of these. This is my Clarins. It's running out. There is still a little left there. Well, this is my Clarins lip. It's a, what's it called? A lip oil. That's it. And it's great for moisturizing the lips and giving a nice kind of sheen to the lips. And then always hand cream. Never like to have my hands dry, so always have that. Have a little Diptyque perfume here, just in case I need to spruce up. So I always carry that with me. Lipstick, MAC lipstick as well. And anti-bac spray and some other bits and pieces. So that's my vanity pouch. And then let's look at the side compartment now. So I have got my kind of where I put all my cards and cash. Just a little pouch there. Work phone. AirPods. And that's pretty much the most exciting thing there. I've got my kind of rail card stroke, some loyalty cards in there as well. for when I need it. And let's see what else is in here. I've also got, and I always keep this, and this is no word of a lie, I always keep a bag in my bag, a hold all. And what I've been keeping lately in there is my AJOSEPO hold all. And this is lovely. Like anytime I go into work or I go anywhere with my backpack and I come back with more things than can fit in my backpack, I always pull this out, and it has saved me many pounds in having to buy plastic bags, and perhaps save the planet. And I would say, yeah, that's it. Thank you.